Hey everybody on Women in AA. I got a lot of positive feedback yesterday for the information I gave you about the pages. I call them the pages, the meditation on pages 86, 87, and 88. And I just wanted to follow up with that and tell you the next thing, right? So since a lot of you want some tools and some information, I'm going to give it to you. So first thing, Teresa Alvarez was kind enough to comment yesterday on that video and give me the link. She put the link right on there for everybody for alcoholicsanonymous.org to get your free big book. Okay, so if you need a big book to do the things that I'm suggesting, this is exactly what I tell people when they ask me for help. First thing I do is I show them those pages, 86, 87, and 88. If you don't have a big book yet, if you've ordered your free big book and you don't have it, you can Google that. Just Google big book 86, 87, 88. The next thing I want to talk about is the big book itself. Okay, so a lot of people don't get the big book, right? First time someone gave me a big book, I had it for like 7 months, and then they said, you got to give me that book back. I never opened it once. It was like, oh God, I don't even know what this is. So I'm going to tell you about the big book really quick so we can get you started and get you started on your steps. If you're interested in doing the steps, I'm going to take you through your steps right here on Women in AA. First thing, let's talk about the big book. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous was written in 1935. So a lot of people think that's really dated, but I'm going to guarantee you right now, it's not dated. Alcoholism, it has not changed much. Not at all. The answer is still the same, right? The verbiage might be hard to understand at first, but it makes total sense once you get reading it. You will get used to it. There's also, in my club room, there's a little dictionary you can order on Amazon, and it is a little AA dictionary, and it gives you definitions of all the words you might not have heard before that are in the big book, and that's always fun. If there's a word that comes up you don't understand, you can look up that word. You can also Google it, right? Everything's Googleable. So the other thing I want to tell you before I tell you about the big book is a couple things about myself. First thing, I join this group on my personal Facebook page. So if you go to follow me, you'll be on my personal page. I do have a recovery page that has all my recovery stuff. Okay, so if you get to me personally, I'll invite you to that anyway, because that's probably what you want, probably more recovery information than you want about my nieces and nephews' basketball game. So my recovery Facebook page is Karen, Karen, Lyn, Gardinier, Gardinier. So instead of my maiden name being in there, Stickler, it's just Karen Lynn Gardinier. And I also have an Instagram page that's all recovery based with vlogs on everything, which is at @Gardinier. I have a YouTube channel as well. I help a lot of people. Okay, so my experience is in AA and alcoholism, right? Treatment centers, detox. I was a executive director of a treatment center for a long time. I also had relapse after long-term sobriety and barely made it back, so I have that experience too. I have a lot of experience. Most of my experiences come after that relapse. I got sober very young, and was able to stay sober, just kind of not drinking. But it didn't last. So that's how I found out about the big book and the program of recovery. That's really the only way I made it back and that I have the life I have today. So the big book, written in 1935, might seem, outdated, but it's not. It's very organic. And so every time you read it, I've been going to AA meetings for 28 years now. And every time I read it, something new comes up. There's something new, like it evolves constantly. So you'll never get tired of it. That's the great news. So the big book is set up where there's two parts. You hear me say all the time that the answer to your problems, the program of recovery is in the first 164 pages of the book, okay? So and you'll hear people say that all the time, first 164 pages of the book. So when you get the book, you're actually, like, here's the whole book, right? This is the part that the program is. This is all personal stories in the back of the book, okay? In the beginning with AA, they didn't have meetings. So people were getting sober, believe it or not, by mail. So if you don't think you can get sober on Zoom or on video webinars by Facebook, you're wrong. If you want to get sober, you can get sober. Anybody can get sober if you're honest, open-minded, and willing. Okay? So this is the program. These are the stories. Back in the day, people used to read the stories as kind of like a meeting. Okay? And some people still do. They really love the stories in the back of the book. I don't really get into that too much because this is the part that's going to save your life right now. Okay? So, how this book is set up is this book changed 4 times since it was written. Okay? There's the first edition, the second edition, the third edition, and the fourth edition. That's the edition we're on now. A lot of people don't understand that or know. Okay? So in the beginning of the book, it'll have the preface. And the preface is like any other book. It tells you what the book's about, a brief book. This one says, this is the 4th edition of the book, Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay? So, and then it gives you a little history about the first book. Just really short, 2 pages. Very interesting read. Read it. Okay? Get the book, read the preface. Very short, gives you an idea. This is the 4th edition. Then what they do in a book like this is they tell you what happened with the first edition. This is the foreword to the book. The foreword to the first time they wrote it. This is what happened, what's going on in the world with people's alcoholism. When they decided to write the second one, this is what changed. They learned more about the disease, and so they put more in the book. Okay? The 3rd edition, that's a very interesting reading. The 3rd edition, there's a foreword to the 3rd edition. Very short. So it seems like most of the changes happened in the 2nd edition, right? So 3rd edition, that's the foreword when they wrote the book. And then this last edition is the foreword to the 4th edition. I read all the forewords. Why not? Why wouldn't you? If your life is in shit and going down the toilet and you cannot stay sober, read 6 pages. You know what I mean? Who cares? Read it. It's going to save your life. So that's the 4th edition. Now, the stories in the back changed. As people changed, the stories changed. Now they're talking more about computers, modem to modem. I mean, we've seen that now in the last 3-4 months, right? That this thing has changed dramatically, how you can get sober and get the message. So these stories in the back changed too. At first, they were just men's stories, 1 or 2 women. Now they're equal. They're different genders, race, creed, color, and different people treated their alcoholism with different things, okay? So some treated it with alcohol, and some treat it with other things. That's all in the back of the book. Everybody's got a story, all right? You might relate to it. But that's how the book's set up. Then the very first part of the book, The Doctor's Opinion, is written by Dr. Silkworth. And he's a man who was very influential and very helpful in the beginning of Alcoholics Anonymous. He was not an alcoholic himself, but he had a hospital that was set up to help alcoholics, and that's how he met Bill. Okay? So Dr. Silkworth's story is in here. He wrote a letter kind of giving cred to Alcoholics Anonymous and what we're doing here, right? And he explains what has to happen for an alcoholic. They have to do the steps so they can have a psychic change, right? A psychic change. It's a moral change in their thinking that has to happen. It's a spiritual program, he says. They've tried everything medical they can. It doesn't work. But these people seem to have some kind of, handle on it, right? Listen to what they say. That doctor's opinion in the front of the book, it's Roman numerals, so a lot of people skip it like it's not important. When I read that changed my life. I understood what was wrong with me. I have a disease called alcoholism, right? It's bodily and mentally. The bodily part's easy to diagnose. It's easy to see. Very sick. Mental is that every time I stop doing it, my mind tells me to go back and do it again, right? I have alcoholic thinking. That's alcoholism. And a lot of people treat alcoholism a lot of different ways. Alcoholics Anonymous generally talks about alcohol, but we're talking about alcoholism. Your thinking is the problem. Nobody else is your problem. Your thinking. You're different than other people. You have the disease called alcoholism. Maybe you're watching this, you're just a heavy drinker. Mazel tov. Good for you, right? Couldn't hurt to learn about this so you know what you're up against, okay? Doctor's opinion is very important, and then it goes right into chapter 1, which is Bill's story. Bill's the founder. When people read Bill's story, they think, oh my God, I don't relate to this guy at all. Now, I want you to reread it, and I want you to read it really looking for the similarities. The guy, one minute he's a hero, next minute he's a failure. He's up, he's down. He's up, he's going to make $1 million and take over Wall Street. Boom! He's broke, living at his wife's house. If you really read it with an open mind, you're going to see yourself in this if you're an alcoholic addict. Okay? So get your big book and start reading. And read it from the front and start reading. Eventually, you're going to get to page 43 and we can do the first step. The reading for the steps, the longest reading is that first reading because I want you to read the preface and the forewords. Okay? This will work. I promise. It is for me, and it's done it for millions of people around the world. It's such a simple program. The problem is no one wants to do it. No one wants to consistently treat their alcoholism on a daily basis. They just want to, boom, I'm good, I'm out. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way if you have any disease. You got to treat it. And the benefits are unbelievable. The new freedom and a new happiness you will have is unbelievable. So, order your big book. Okay? AA.org. Order your big book. It's free. Get it. If not, Google big book. Get it on audio. Get it on Audible. Right? Listen to it. If you need some other ways to get this information, direct message me. Check out my website, KarenGardinier.com. I talk about alcoholism. I talk about switching addictions. Right? If you quit alcohol and you start doing meth, I see a lot of comments on here about, well, what about smoking pot? What about methadone? What about this? I'm telling you, there's no chemical answer to a spiritual problem. There's not. So you're just switching addictions around. You don't want to do that, okay? You are going to be sick. A lot of you ask, hey, should I feel shitty? I just quit drinking. Yes, you're going to feel shitty. Yes, you're going to want to eat candy. Yes, eat candy. It's okay. Right? Take it easy. Just see if you can follow some directions. Now you're doing the morning and evening pages. You got that going on, right? Let's do that consistently. And do some reading. I'll help you with the steps. Love you guys. Bye.